Every level of the establishment, be that the government itself, social services, the police, the judiciary, educational institutions, the media, and even counter-terror schemes, are all desperate to wave away incidents carried out by ethnic minorities. Now, whether this is done by liberal-minded fools who don't want to be accused of racism, or whether this is done by government ministers and police chiefs desperately trying to ensure that ethnic minority youths aren't arrested and the crime figures look more racially balanced, is in some ways irrelevant, because the result is the same. These policies lead to ethnic minority criminals walking free, allowing them to go on to commit absolutely sickening crimes. While studying at Nottingham University, Callacane had stalked a young woman, following her back to her accommodation. She was so terrified, she jumped out of a window to escape him, causing her serious injuries. Callacane later trapped his flatmate in their shared kitchen after a row over a shower. In both cases, the university pressed police not to take further action. But that wasn't the extent of Callacane's violent acts. Just 6 weeks before he went on his killing spree in Nottingham, he attacked 2 colleagues in a warehouse in Leicestershire. The incident was reported to the police, but he was never arrested. After his trial, the press revealed he had also been sectioned on 4 separate occasions, and the Daily Mail reported that the police had been given no less than 8 chances to stop him before he went on his rampage. At this point, that pattern I spoke of earlier gets harder to wave away. It seems clear that when those from ethnic minority backgrounds commit serious acts of violence or are caught with weapons, the establishment does everything it can to wave those incidents away. This is a policy that is engaged in by the police, social services, schools, universities, Prevent, and other local and national authorities. At the end of last year, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, revealed that 1.3 million people came to Britain legally in 2023, with net migration reaching a record high of 906,000. So legally, 17,423 people came to Britain each week in 2023, meaning that in just over a week, more people come here legally and remain in the country than Labour has deported in 30 weeks. Now let's add the legal and illegal figures, giving a total of 958,000, meaning that in total 18,423 migrants come to Britain per week, making Labour's deportation of 633 people per week seem minuscule in comparison. Labour may have deported 19,000 illegals, which is already lower than the number of illegal migrants coming in for that period, but when legal migration is added to the mix, the 19,000 figure becomes so small it almost becomes meaningless. The fact is, pictures of illegal migrants being led onto planes, talk of the 4 largest return flights to have ever been chartered by a British government, and numbers like 19,000 being thrown around, which to the man on the street seem big, are nothing more than political posturing. The level of migration we are witnessing is so large and the numbers so swamping that simply sending back a few hundred illegal migrants per week is the equivalent of using a couple of buckets in order to try and prevent the Titanic from sinking. White Britons are rapidly headed to minority status, and the Labour Party are merely trying to convince the public that they are doing something about the problem in order to lull people into a false sense of security. The policy of paying for resettlement schemes is something that nationalist groups have been advocating for decades, something that many within the mainstream laughed at, called racist, and claimed would never work. So this all goes to show that not only do nationalist policies work, but if those resettlement grants were coupled with other sensible policies, such as the requirement to speak English in order to use council services, a ban on ritually slaughtered meat, and a ban on face coverings in public places, many migrants would take the money and leave.